Hello and welcome to episode 2 of a conversation with AsYetUntitled. I'm Rob.
And I'm Kris.
And we are joined today, that smile, we are joined today.
It's a caffeine smile.
It is. We are joined today by the one and only Mr. Matt Garvey. How are you doing?
I'm very well, but I am not the one and only Matt Garvey.
Well, you are.
I will happily admit that because this is a funny way to start the show. There's a rugby player called Matt Garvey. He's a now retired rugby player. He used to play for Bath, I believe, and he's blocked me on Twitter, which is hilarious.
Is there a story behind that? And can we get that story?
No. Do you know what it is? It's like if you know me from Twitter, which you guys do, my DMs are always open. Do you know what I mean? Because I like people reaching out to me, asking me comic questions, how to do this, how to do that kind of thing. And I get a lot of his fans messaging me thinking I'm him, going, "Oh, you really enjoyed the game today. You know, you're really good. You said hello to my son and stuff like that." And I'm always really, because I know how important like fans and supporters are. I'm always super polite to the people that reach out to me thinking I'm him, and. And I was like, "Oh, I'm not him," but it's lovely to hear that.
Does that mean he gets your fans talk about comic book stuff?
Well, this is what I'm worried about, and all the hate mail. And I've never spoken to him, and I've never ever met him, never spoken to him. And actually, I was just checking him. He's a Twitter page out because I got another one. I was like, "Oh, this is the chap you want." I was going to put in like the at and the name, and he's blocked me because he's obviously getting people thinking I'm him. Which is absolutely bizarre. And there is another Matt Garvey. I was doing a Comic-Con in Bedford a couple of years ago, and he's been to MCM as well. There's a chap called Matt Garvey that buys my comics.
Pass him off as his own. Look what I've made.
And literally, I've asked him to look after my table while I go for a wee, and I said, if anyone wants you to sign their comics, you can, because you are Matt Garvey. So,
I mean, you're not wrong.
Anyway,
Technically correct.
thank you for having me on. It's lovely to meet you guys. Well, I say meet you guys. I've met you guys at Comic-Cons, but it's lovely to be part of the show and stuff. So thank you for having me. So but I'm not the only Matt Garvey.
Would you like me to rephrase that, or the man himself?
The current Matt Garvey.
I am a Matt Garvey.
One of many Matt Garvey.
the most ununique Matt Garvey you'll ever meet.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll give him a quick peek behind the curtains. We did have an interview with Matt, but he was very. Well, how do you want to phrase it?
Enthusiastic.
Hyperactive. I'd had way too much caffeine. And you guys, bless you, were asking me questions, and I was going off a complete tangents, going in really weird directions. And I don't even think I answered the question. And I think you could tell I've been in lockdown for way too long. Mm-hmm. So I just thought, you know what, this is your show. I wanted to give your listeners something fun to listen to. And it's more fun when we're interacting rather than just hearing me talk. So,
You say you went off at tangents.
But I'll still talk over you.
You saying you went off at tangents. Have you listened to any of our podcasts? Because that's kind of our whole model of our podcast. We think about something and then we talk about everything that possibly connects to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I know that. But this is one thing that I've been learning since been doing my YouTube channel. I kind of trying to cut out the waffle. Do you know what I mean? Get to the point, because like you'll probably have it with your channels as well. Is like you have audience retention. So say like 100 people click on my videos, and then what it is, YouTube will give you the audience retention. It will say like 50%, and that means out of that 100 people, only 50 of them have actually got to the end of it. And it will show you where they drop off, and there's dips and stuff like that. So it's trying to cut the waffle out. And I was randomly going off on stuff, and and it's just like, do you know what? Let's keep it a bit more lighthearted and keep it a bit more fun. And it just gives me a chance to talk over you guys again. So
no worries. Yeah. All right. So you mentioned COVID and lockdown. You're now second jabbed, and you got to the.
I am.
Yeah.
Come at me, bro. Come at me in 2 weeks.
Well, what did you put on Instagram? Was it jab 2, jab harder or something?
It was, yeah. But then I got told by a buddy that you shouldn't put, because obviously you get them cards that you sign, and it's got like the batch number that you've had. And my mate said that apparently you shouldn't put that on there because people use them to fake cards and stuff. And I was like, oh. So I had to take it down. But I thought it was quite a good tweet and quite a good Instagram post. It was, COVID jab 2, jab harder.
Yeah, it made me laugh.
There you go. But then I had to delete it, so because I'm a dickhead. But yeah, so I am. In 2 weeks' time, it can come at me.
Yeah.
Unless there's not a stronger variant.
I know.
Coming my way.
So I'm
laughing.
I was trying to think of other films to make puns off of. So I thought of The Empire Strikes Jab.
Like it.
Yeah.
Nice clever play on words.
And then I run out of ideas. I was trying to think of them, and I'm thinking what works. And
We've got Die Hard in the Empire. That's all right.
Yeah. Too Jab, Too Furious. Second Jab, Too Furious. No, it doesn't work. See, I love games like this. This is one of the reasons why I love Twitter. I don't see it as much anymore, but there used to be like name games where we like to try and tweak a film name, to make it sound like something else. And I used to love stuff like that because I would literally sit there for hours going, looking at my DVD collection, looking at my film collection, going, okay, so can we change that? Can we tweak that? Can we do it? No. So yeah, I love stuff like that. And literally, the Die Hard thing I thought was quite funny. So.
The good, the jab, and the ugly.
That's me. That's definitely me. The good, the jab, and the ugly. Yeah, I'm good. I got jab, and I'm fuck ugly. There we go. You prick.
Yeah. So, all right. So,
do you know what I like about you?
Go on.
Nothing.
Thanks, mate. So, how was it through COVID? How did you get on with the lockdown? Was you climbing the walls?
Well, I had a baby, so it was not me personally.
That sounds painful.
Well, you say going back to the jab yesterday, right? The woman that gave me the injection had a great sense of humor, like a really good sense of humor. The one I had last time literally was like she was stone cold. Like I made a joke and she just did not laugh. So this time I thought, do you know what? They're probably really under a lot of pressure, got a lot to do. So I'm just going to go in, get the jab, and then move on. But yesterday, so I've gone in there like really calm. So she was making so many jokes; it was unbelievable. Because I'm under 40, I got the Pfizer jab. So they gave you a list, and she went, "Are you pregnant? Are you breastfeeding?" And so she was up for a laugh. I'm like, where was you last time?
Yeah,
but yeah, lockdown for me was it was different. It was different. I got furloughed. Wife had just had a baby, so for me it was great because I got to spend loads of time with my baby girl. So she knows who I am, which a lot of parents don't get. So for me, it's every cloud. Started a YouTube channel because as you guys know, like when you've seen me at Comic Con, to get a lot of people come up to me wanting to talk about how do you make comics, that kind of thing. Haven't done a Comic Con for nearly 2 years because of it, so started a YouTube channel to try and help that new generation of creators get out there. But I had a whale of a time.
Have you missed the Comic Cons themselves?
Of course, yes. He hasn't seen us.
Well, is that?
Yes, that is true. No, but that's true because I do have regular people that come back, and it's lovely to see people. Have I missed Comic Cons? Have I missed the work? No, because it's really bloody hard work, and something we spoke about before. Like I don't sit down at a Comic Con, and they really, really are hard work. I've missed engaging with people, engaging with readers and supporters, that kind of thing. Because I've got a lovely, loyal. I hate saying the word fan because it's sort of fanatic and I don't want to be, shot. So I say supporters. I've got a lovely support base of people that come back and buy my comics, and it's lovely to see them and stuff like that. But it has impacted comics coming out only because I don't kickstart my comics and stuff like that. So all the money that I make is from selling them. So Comic Cons is where we get back my money. So I'm looking for that bit to sell those. But yeah, I have missed it. I don't do many cons. I like to stick to the local ones like MCM in London and stuff like that. So, but yeah, no, I've missed it. How about you guys? You must be missing it.
I am missing the cons. I mean, I don't know. It's weird for us because we kind of do we're going to do a meet and not a meet and greet for us, but we'll go to the meet and greets and and things like that. So it is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
even though I made a complete fool out of myself in front of Jason David Frank, the White Ranger.
Well, what did you do?
I won't put. There's no way I'm showing the picture of what I was wearing because. Shut up. Do you know the comic book character? Obviously, you must know him. Condiment King in the
of course.
The original one, not the more modern, angsty one, like the one who had the small ketchup packets and the thing comes over his shoulder.
Yes, dude, I'm nearly 40. I've been reading comics for 30 years. I know the condiment.
I had his costume, and I had the body tight lycra thing wearing it, and with the Y fronts on the front of it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
Yes, so very sexy.
That's commitment, Aaron. This is what I love about comic, because like again, I know we spoke about this last time, but people get annoyed at cosplay and Funkos and celebrities at Comic Cons. I love it because, do you know what I mean? Like it's just a geek gathering. I know it's under the banner of a Comic Con. It's just a geek gathering, and it's something for everyone. And every faction of geekdom gets to go and do what they enjoy. If you like games, especially the episode, if you like games, you've got games. If you've got films, you've got films. You've got Funkos, you've got fun. If you've got comics, there's comics there. So, and the fact that you guys are doing more than one thing, meeting celebrities, doing cosplay, and buying comics, it's like, yeah, it's brilliant. So more power to you.
I remember my first Comic-Con, you had to convince me to go in costume because I was so worried about standing out, and I got there and it's like the people who weren't in costume who are the ones that were standing out.
No, yeah, do you know what? Like, it's fascinating to watch. The only cosplayers that annoy me, and there's one particular MCM, and he does it every time, and everyone I've been. There's this guy dressed up as Deadpool, and it's a very good costume, but he's got this massive tuba that he walks around with, and all day you can just hear, and it's like the Jaws theme tune. Like you can hear it getting closer. Every hour you can hear. And you're like, he's here. Where is he? And then you just hear it getting quiet, going. It's just like, for God's sake, someone stick a ball in it or something.
Well, being Deadpool lets people to go mad, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but why would you bring a tuba to a Comic Con? Like, can you imagine it being bloody heavy? Like, I don't know. The costume's great. You look great as Deadpool. It's just the tuba adds nothing to it. The ones that do kind of freak me out are the people that you can tell they're on their own, and again, you do what you do, but it's the ones that like dress like Jason, and then they just stand there looking around. And it's like
actually commit to the character of it.
Yeah, and it's like I can't get it. But you know what? Like someone probably is terrified of that character.
Yeah,
and you're not helping. It's like clowns. Some people are just like clowns. You're just like, yeah, maybe not try and terrify people. And like it's not going to make you popular. There's a reason why you're on your own at the Comic Con.
I see someone as Jason. It was either Jason or Michael Myers. I think it was Jason. And it was the swamped version after he'd been like covered in muck and whatnot.
Oh god!
And he was dragging.
So basically, he fell into the dock. Then he fell into the dock prior to the con.
And he was literally dragging what looked like a body bag, like wrapped up like a bag. And it was. I'm hoping it was like tissue and stuff and fluff, but it looked like a body, and he was just dragging it along, minding his own business. I just tended to move out of his way and carry on with my day. Really.
Yeah. Hopefully, he wasn't doing around the giant inflatable minion where all the kids were. That's trauma right there, kids. That's the embodiment of trauma. What's in the bag, mummy? Teens having sex. That's what happens. Don't have premarital sex, because that's what happens.
Half a second, I wonder what the heck you're talking about. Then it flicked in my head. Right, that's why.
Yeah.
Strange.
But I love all that stuff. Do you know what I mean? And some of the people that make their costumes, they go above and beyond, and you got to commend them for what they do. And again, like they might not be there for comics, but who cares? They're having fun. And we spoke about this last time. That con, I think, gets like 120,000 people through the door. If 10% of those people are there for comics is one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because the comic section is small, but I like it being small. It's it's more intimate. You can come up and have a chat with people. There's not not mocking other Comic Cons, but sometimes the Comic Cons are too big and you don't get to go around it all. So keeping it nice, intimate. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Have you ever get to have a chat with people like you?
Have you ever cosplayed?
As myself? No. I'm always wearing a mask. No. Do you know what that side of thing doesn't really appeal to me? I I don't have the time or the patience to make a costume or anything like that. Yeah, like I've been at Fred's dress party. That's about it.
All right, so if you could cosplay, what would you go as? Would you go with one of your characters?
No, definitely not. I have had someone cosplay as one of my characters, and that's one of the nicest things I've ever seen. It nearly made me cry. Bless you. There's a chap called Amavir who's absolutely lovely that buys all my comics. He's an absolute legend. And I did the Nottingham Comic Con a couple of years ago, and he came dressed as the Aoife, which was adorable.
That is cool.
Yeah, he literally bought like one of them body sock outfits, like literally drew like the map of London on which was lovely, and just wore a suit with gloves. Just like he actually went online and bought purple gloves. But I honestly don't know. It definitely. I genuinely do not have a clue.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. I'd have to go something stupid just for a laugh. Like I'd go like George Costanza in Seinfeld when he's wearing like the body stocking because he's too shy to streak naked. I do something like that just for shits and giggles. But yeah, no.
I was expecting. Yeah. I thought he was really going to say, I'll go dressed as Deadpool with a tuba.
Follow him around for a change for that other guy.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. What about you guys? I mean, you guys. So, what am I expecting in October at MCM if you go? You must have something up the sleeves.
Do you know? So we'll go through. So I done Spider-Man. I've done that twice, haven't I?
Yeah, same. Well, yeah, because you got
because I re-updated. Yeah, so I done the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, but when he's the human spider, so with the tracksuit.
Yeah.
So I made that, and my jumper didn't come in time, so I got like an old crappy like roll neck one, and then I put just a t-shirt over the top and sprayed it. So the following year, I then made, because I had the jumper, so then I remade the web and that on the front.
What's your second year?
So I went as the Spider-Man twice because I done the boot, like the cheaper version, and then the new updated one. So I went as that, and then I'm thinking this year I do want to do Deadpool, but you get so many of them, you don't stand out. Yeah.
Unless you did like, I don't know, what could you do? You could do zombie Deadpool. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you ever read? There was a miniseries. Was it the Deadpool Cause? You could do like the head, carry the head around
on his head to get himself around.
Yeah. Like the beanie hat, propeller head. There's like you could go as Gwenpool. Go as any kind of pool.
Well, we said Deadpool dressed as Misty from Pokemon. That'd be quite strange.
There you go. Fusion.
Yeah. My first year, I was this wizard from Skyrim. I'd actually paper mache the whole mask and everything. The second year,
Plague Doctor.
Yeah, my second year I went as the Plague Doctor. From
as you do.
Don't know if you know the SCP series.
No.
You should look it up. The character is SCP-049, and he's got a whole thing. SCP.
Oh, he's writing it down.
Yeah. Right. No, I'm googling it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I get it. That's
a huge thing.
it's like
hundreds
the big,
of
pointy nose. Yeah. So it's Plague Doctor. Yeah.
And this year I plan to go as a tech priest from Warhammer 40k.
Okay.
I've got the red robes indoors. I've got to make the white bits that go on it, and I've already got staff I can work into a tech priest staff.
Nice.
And I've shown you the goggle things I've got in the half mask I can put together.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, I really don't know. I'll think of something. I know the what's really bad is I'll go like 3 weeks before the con. I'm like, right, I'm doing this. And then I put myself under pressure to make a costume in 3 weeks.
And then half a week later, you've changed your mind to something else. Yeah.
That's the problem. That's the problem. It's having great ideas and then sitting on them is like, 2 weeks away.
Well, I've had over a year to work on this costume, and I've done very little.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's probably because there's a lot of uncertainty around Comic Cons at the moment. Literally, like the MCM.
Is that still the Nightingale palette?
It's Stanley. Yes, it's exactly. So, it literally the applications only went out last week. So I didn't know if it was happening. I'd heard rumors that it might not happen, based on spikes and stuff like that. But literally. So I don't blame you for sitting on it because point putting all that effort in if you're not going to get to show it off. Do you know what I mean? There's other things that you can do, but hopefully it'd be interesting. It'd be an interesting con to see how they handle it. especially because it's primarily a young audience. You know, hopefully everyone's going to get jabbed up and stuff like that. But I don't care. I've had 2. So
Yeah.
There's always one guy I see there that he's got to be in his 60s or 70s if he's a day, right? And he always goes as a Wicked Witch with the Halloween girl's witch outfit kind of thing, but with black and purple stockings right up the legs. I see him there every time, and it's like I'm thinking, it's a bold choice.
Let's see how it works out for him. Well, there's this little lady. She must be in her late 50s. You know, again, like, you know, and she always goes as a Terminator. She always goes like as a metal plate over her head. And I remember, bless. I'm not going to make fun of her because she did come over to me and she asked like if I had any comics with cyborgs in it, which is obviously her thing. And I said, "Oh no, I'm really sorry, I don't." And then she literally didn't even say goodbye. She just turned and walked off.
Okay.
But all right, love. Next time, just for you, I'm going to make that comic just for you.
And she'll be back.
Hey! I'll set them up. I'll set them up.
This is what this podcast has
Yeah.
become. Just dad jokes and puns.
Bad jokes.
Don't
bad
bring
jokes.
me into it. You're the one that does the dad jokes.
Yeah, all right, so we're going to comics. How old were you when you first wrote your first one?
My very first comic. But this is the weird thing is you kind of get introduced to comics before you even know comics exist. You know, like most people, you know, I grew up watching, you know, reruns of the Bill Dozier, Adam West Batman series on, you know, ITV on like Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
That was my first exposure to comics. That and was it Spider-Man and his amazing friends, you know, like, so you know the characters before you know the comics. And yeah, literally, must have been, hang on, we've got my first comic here. So the first comic I bought was Daredevil 305, and that came out in June 1992. So I was 10. So that's what, 30 years ago.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the slabbed one, isn't it?
This is a slab one. This isn't the actual first comic I bought, but this is a copy of it. My lovely wife got me for my birthday the other year because my other one's been read so many times it's fallen apart. So. But yeah, so I was 10 and I'm going to be 40 this year. So yes, 30 years reading comics.
Mm-hmm. And did you ever draw one? So at that age, around about 10ish, did you ever like know that you wanted to go into comics or like into drawing or creating or writing or?
Yeah. Me and my buddy Colin, we used to try and draw comics, you know, as you do as a 10-year-old. It's just one of the things you do as a kid, you know what I mean? And but then you realise you're shit, so you stop.
So you went to writing them instead?
Yeah, well, even that, you know, I mean, I didn't start writing comics until I was 30. So, you know,
wow.
I'd been a fan for like 20 years. Yeah, but this is one of the reasons why I started the YouTube channel. It's because I'm not a great speller. Like I've never been like diagnosed with like being dyslexic or anything like that. But you know, if you think, you know, I'm an 80s baby, so like 92, you know, we didn't even have the internet. Like we didn't even have computers. You know, so if I wanted to write a comic, I would have to write on a bit of paper. I did not know there was a comic industry. I didn't know if you could. I didn't know what a comic script looks like. You know, where are you going to find a comic script as a 10-year-old? So it's something that, you know, you always have like ideas of like, oh, I'd like to write a Spider-Man story. I'd like to write a Daredevil story as a child growing up, even as an adult. But you don't know how to do it. So that's why I wanted to do the channel, is because now there are books. There's some great books out there to help show people how to make comics, like Bendis's Words for Pictures. You know, and what's the other one I got? There's a couple of others that I've got there as well. Understanding Comics, and it's one of the first videos I did. I actually give some books like recommendations. But you know, even like 10 years ago when I started, there's very little out there. You know, occasionally you'd get a comic script, part of a comic script in the back of a comic, that kind of thing, and that's all you have to go on. So now I know how to do it. I just wanted to pass that knowledge on and make it available for as many people as I can. So yeah, so it was a big jump between reading and getting the and a lot of it's getting the balls to do it as well, because it's that fear of rejection. It's like, you know, you said, Chris, you was like you had to be persuaded to go in cosplay because you're worried someone's gonna make fun of you.
Yeah.
You're like when you're, regardless if you're an artist or you're making a cosplay outfit for yourself or you're making a comic, like you're kind of putting your heart out there, and you're worried that someone's going to mock it. And that, I always say that confidence can take a lifetime to get, but it can be lost in a second by a reaction. And it can. And comics is the same. When I wrote my first comic, it was a 10-page comic that I wrote. I was sitting there at home, like in my flat with my now wife, and I was typing away, and she kept going to me, "What are you doing over there?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just on the internet. I'm just on the internet." She thought I was having an affair or something because I was being very secretive about what I was doing. And then literally a couple of months later, I showed her what I was doing. Like where I was working, we had a photocopy and it had a booklet maker, so I made a little comic booklet, and I showed it. And like she really encouraged me. She was like, "This is amazing," and all the guys from the Miller World forum that I was on encouraged me as well. So I kept doing it. But getting the courage to actually show someone what I'd done is horrible. It's if you've never done it before, it's like asking a gal out. It's like, what if they say no?
Yeah.
What if they don't like it? Do you know what I mean? There's a fear. There is a fear with anything creative, and I think a lot of people, I think so many talented people don't take that step, and I think everyone should. And that's why I wanted to do the channel, just to encourage people and guide people and help people.
Mm-hmm. Is there a character that you wrote about when you were younger? Would you ever bring back now?
I can't even remember the characters I used to write when I was back then. Well, this is the thing is, you're going back to the 90s. So say 92 when I bought my first comic to the up to 2000. There wasn't really that many independent comics. Yeah. Or if there were, you didn't know about them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because if you go to you're not just going to the comic shop, but obviously there were independent comics back then, but there was no Image.
Yeah,
stuff like that. So you didn't kind of know you could go and create your own characters, or if you did create a character, you'd probably put it into the Marvel universe or the DC universe, that kind of thing. So all the stories that I probably had as a kid, I probably had ideas for characters, but it was probably just something that I would drop into New York because that's where Daredevil was and Spider-Man was. So yeah, it was yeah. So yeah. So no. Okay. Won't bring any of them back. They're all dead. I killed them off.
Would you ask a question about Devil in Disguise?
It's the idea of it, the devil being a superhero to prove his worth to God. I love the idea of it. How did that come about? Do you want to know how I got it? I was going to say, do you want to know how I got that idea? Right. I literally, because we all live in and around London, so like we go on the tube and stuff like that, and they're bloody hot. In the summer, like the tube is like the worst. And I was in a suit. I was going to an appointment at work, and I had my earphones in. I was in my Elvis face, listening to a bit of Elvis, and I literally looked across the carriage. The carriage was absolutely empty, apart from me and a pregnant woman that was asleep on the train. Like she was like heavily pregnant, like 8 9 months pregnant, like, huge belly, ready to pop, and she like head was next to the wall, and she was asleep. And literally the song "Devil in Disguise" came onto my shuffle, and I saw the pregnant woman, and then I thought, what if I was the devil and I was going to come thing
back?
To think.
How would I come back? Like you'd need a vessel. Do you know what I mean? Like you'd need something to bring into as well. But I thought, yeah, that's been done. Devil, coming back, that kind of thing. You've seen like End of Days and was it Stigmata, all those kind of films, that kind of thing. But I thought, do you know what? We've all had a bad day at work. We've all had an argument with our boss. What if the devil's actually quite a good guy, and he just maybe you need to say, like, we're all meant to get a second chance. Why can't he? So we've all had an argument all that. So that was the idea, and I thought, that's where the concept came from, and just adapted it from there, really.
How long did that take to write altogether?
Very quickly, actually, because Rob Ahmed that drew it, he worked really, really quickly. So, I write really fast. If I pitch a comic, plot a comic, I can write like 10 to 20 pages in a day. Wow. So, but that's if I've plotted it properly. But then I go back and do rewrites. But like the first draft, I can easily knock out 10 pages in a day. Good pages that I'm happy with before I go back and do a rewrite. So, I'll write a comic over a weekend.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, if someone hasn't read any of your comics before, where's a good starting point? What would you suggest to be their first one to read from yours?
Well, that's one of the good things about like going to the Comic-Con is, if people come up to the table, because I always have my comics open on the table and people have a look, and they're always drawn in by like a certain art style, and I always start talking to them like, what kind of comics you're looking for. Some people, like, they know the type of comics they like, and I say to them, like, what type of comics do you like? and I can guide them. So if they say they like superheroes, we'll say I've got the Ether, I've got the Devil in Disguise, I've got Red Rocket Comet, that kind of thing. They're superhero books. But some people go like, I've never read a comic before, and that's one of the things that I love about Comic Con. The best thing is when you sell someone their first comic. I'm here for games, and I'm here for cosplay. But like their friend will be like at the table next to me, like buying a postcard or something, and I'll start talking to them, and they end up buying a comic. So I always say to them, what kind of films do you like? What kind of books do you like? And they'll tell me like a genre. And because I've got such a wide range of comics, I'll try and find something that I know they like. Because the worst thing is to sell someone a comic they're not going to like, especially if it's their first comic. Because if they don't like it, they're never going to buy another one.
Yeah.
But if they do like it, they're going to come back for more, and they're going to try other things. So the answer to that is any of them, depending on what your tastes are, tastes and preferences. It's what you like, not what I like.
Building on that though, I was going to say, so the Ether. So we spoke about the twist. Do you want to try and avoid spoilers in this one, or
let's spoil everything. What do you want to know? You want to talk about it again? Do you want to ask the question again, and I'll answer it in a more unique way?
If you want. Basically, I was going to say, what was the idea of having it as a woman being the superhero that you find out at the end, as opposed to it being a man?
Yeah, no, that is a very good question. And how I got the idea for the comic is literally I was walking. It was the first day of my old job, which I'm no longer in. I was walking to the office and I walked past a tailor's and I saw a mannequin, and the mannequin was literally the comic. It was literally a mask of the head was a mask of London, and it was wearing a suit. And I just thought that was absolutely terrifying because Batman is terrifying because he's dressed as a giant rodent. But what was more scarier than the personification of the actual city that you've defiled coming after you. And I thought that was a great idea. I thought, I haven't seen it. That's great. But I knew people would draw similarities to characters like Rorschach from Watchmen or The Question, which I've never read The Question. I literally have got loads of them digitally, but I still haven't read them yet because I'm a knob. But yeah, so I thought, and I still get it now. Like I get people come to my table at Comic Cons and they'll go, well, that's just Rorschach. And it's like, it's kind of not. And you don't want to spoil it for them. And the kids, I didn't even know this. And like kids would go, is that Slender Man? I'm like, well, he works out, So literally I sat on the idea for nearly 3 years. And I just thought, you know what, like we're under this pre-notion, like we all like, myself included, like you see a character in a mask wearing a suit, you automatically think it's a man. Batman wears a mask to protect Alfred and his family, that kind of thing, to keep that persona away from, the Bruce Wayne, persona, keep everyone safe. And I thought, well, if your villains not only can't see your face, but they also think you're a different gender, that's going to keep them that extra step away from finding out your secret identity and putting your loved ones in danger. And I thought that was kind of a unique little twist on it. And it's like you guys said when you really like the twist is halfway through, like you reveal it's a lady under there, and like people are like, oh, I didn't see it coming. But then you're like, well, it's kind of obvious. But we're just we're pre-programmed to think it's going to be a man under there, and showing that gender swap, I think it opens people's eyes to, comics can be more. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a man under mask. It's like Spider-Man. There's the Sony the Miles Morales movie, Into the Spider-Verse, which is amazing, and like Stan Lee's in it, and he's like anyone could be under the mask, and that's what's great about that character. Spider-Man, anyone could be under the mask. Any kid, boy, girl, non-binary, whatever, can visualize themselves under that hood, under that mask, and that's the genius about these kind of characters, and that's just what I was trying to replicate in my own crazy little way.
Did you find that story easy or hard to write, knowing that you had an idea of it being a woman, or did you have the idea for it to be a female superhero after?
Well, I had the idea for the character, but I didn't have the idea of her being a woman, saying until about 3 years, and it kind of just fell into place. I was a little bit nervous about putting it out there because the character is an LGBT character as well. Yeah, she's in a same-sex relationship, and I thought being a straight white guy, should I be writing a a female gay character because I'm neither female nor gay. But the reception I got to it has been absolutely beautiful. I have people come to, I have same-sex couples come to my table, and they're looking at my books, and like they always ask for a recommendation, and I always say like, not because they're gay, but I'll say you might like this, you might like. And I remember it's obviously a couple of years ago now at the last Comic Con, a couple absolutely lovely. Sold it to them on the Friday. Sold it to one of the ladies on the Friday. She came back on the Saturday to thank me for writing it, which nearly made me cry. And because so they came back on the Sunday to thank me because she said, I read it on the Friday, my partner read it on the Saturday, and we wanted to come back and thank you for writing it because we feel that we was represented.
Yeah,
That's lovely to hear.
And that for me that was really nice, and I nearly cried because it's nice to because when you read the comic, it's not a gay comic. It's like, even though the character is gay, like I don't kind of not ram it down people's throats. I'm not using it as a device.
It's just there. It's just part of who she is.
It's just there. It's just there. It's not like, well, the character's gay. Like it's not. It's like if one of you, I mean, I don't know your sexuality, but if one of you's gay, I wouldn't treat you any different.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think it's that kind of thing. It's like, just because the character's gay, the character's gay. It's like we were talking last time, like Spawn. Todd McFarlane tells his great stories about when he does like Comic Cons in like potentially racist areas of America, and he'll get like old boys come up to him saying, I love that Spawn character, like he kicks ass and stuff like that. And like he knows they're racist, and they go, he's a black dude, don't you? Al Simmons is a black dude. So it's like, but again, it's like I just wanted to. It was just a fun character to write. I think it's a very powerful story, and again, not because of the character's sexuality. I think it's just a raw story, and the fact that the character's gay just adds to it. But it's not. That character could be a man. That character could be a woman. That character could be gay. That character could be straight. I don't think it would impact the story as is. The reason why I changed the character to a woman or come up with the idea of a woman is because I wanted to stand out from other characters. That was it. So
yeah, so I think I've got nearly all of your comics, at least nearly all of them. All in paper version, not digital. Although, however, I do want to get them in digital because that way I can't lose them. Because I've got a comic book box. I put them in there, and I don't know where they go. It's
yeah.
1 minute.
That's why I've got 12 long boxes in the loft.
So and the missus is moaning at me like, oh, you're buying more. So I'm like, all right, I either need to stop buying them or put them in digital, and I'm not going to stop buying them. So
it's a little USB stick to put them all on that.
Yeah, something. But yeah, I think out of all of them, I think the Ether is probably one of my favourite comics.
Bless you.
Probably
very sweet of you to say.
Honestly, probably that I've actually ever read, and it's not just because you're here, but one, the way it's written, the artwork is brilliant. I absolutely love the artwork. But
am I dying? And like, this is your way of like breaking it to me. Like, as my wife told you to say, look, he's on his way out. Did you make him feel good?
Yeah.
Flatter him. Make you forget it was all worthwhile.
But I don't know. There's something about it that if you read a comic book, you think, oh, all right, that it's good, but okay, it's no different to others. But when I read yours, I don't know if it was the writing or the style of the drawing and the art of it as well, or a combination of the both. But I just wanted to read it. Like every time you kind of carried on, even though it was such a basic story at the beginning, and you kind of dropped the plot in early, I was like, okay, I need to know what happens. And now I'm waiting for the third one.
We'll get there. But that's a very lovely comic because do you know what it is? It's I keep getting back about my channel. It's one of the reasons why I made the channel. It's like anyone can make a comic, but there's a difference between writing a good comic and writing a bad comic. Make it a good, make it a bad comic. Like I did a video last week about artists versus writers, because every now and then on social media, like you'll see a writer go, well, no, I'm the creator, I'm the most important person there. Without my idea, it wouldn't exist. And it's like, yeah, dude, without the artist, colorist, letters, that kind of thing, all you would have would be letters on a page. That's
Without the artist, all you're doing is writing fan fiction.
Exactly. And but then you'll see artists going, well, I can do sequential pages and tell a story. It's like, yes, you can do, and if you're a good artist, it will look fantastic. But can you carry a good story? Because, like, if you've ever seen a comic book script, they do look very basic, and they are, because it's panel descriptions and dialogue. That's all it is. It's not like heavy dialogue because you've only got a certain amount of space, but they are very basic. But what we do is a lot bigger than we make it appear to look. We're like, you think we're just doing like page after page. It's like, but we're thinking about the overall structure. We're thinking about the arc structure. We're thinking about the act structure. So we're thinking about the midpoints. We're thinking about the splash pages. Well, I'm thinking about how I can manipulate the audience to turn the next page. That's. It's not like watching a film where you've got someone clicked and they're watching it. Yeah, they can turn off, but even if you hate a film, you'll give it 20 minutes, half an hour to see if it's any good or see if it picks up. But a comic, if you can't hook someone in the first 4 pages, you've kind of lost them.
Yeah,
it's really hard, unless you're a really big name, and like your audience loves you and they'll happily read a slow burn. You need to give the audience a reason to turn that next page. Whether it's a joke, a shock, a twist, or just something divisive to push the narrative on. And I think sometimes that gets lost in translation of like, oh, writing the comics easy. It's like, yeah, it is easy, but I've seen a lot of comics from new creators that don't understand pacing, don't understand how many panels need to be on a page, don't understand how to write dialogue. And again, that's why I'm making the channel, because I'm showing the blueprints of like how to do that and how to do it good. I'm not saying I'm the best, far from it. I'm no Grant Morrison and Alan Moore, but I've been doing this for 10 years, and I've only been releasing. This is the important thing. I've only been releasing my comics for 5.
Yeah. So
for those first 5 years, I was learning the craft. I was doing small comics. I was learning how to write a comic, and then I started releasing. So, if I ever did, get to work for like a Marvel or DC, and someone goes to me, "You're an overnight success." Yeah, 10 years in the making.
Is that because I remember we were speaking about that before? I think is that what irritates you when people say like overnight success, when they've been respected for their grind, and then because they make it big, then all of a sudden there's something important.
It's hard. Comics is a funny industry, but then it's funny in the respects of everyone wants to work in it. There's more people that want to make comics than there are comic jobs, especially if you want to work for a publisher. You walk around like an MCM, how many comic tables are there? 200. How many different books do Marvel put out a month? Say there's 100 books. And most of the writers will probably write 3 or 4 of those books. You'll have like a Brian Michael Bendis, when he was at Marvel, he was writing Ultimate Spider-Man, New Avengers, and so like no writer usually writes just the one book, because like you need to write more because you get paid more. But comics is, it's one of them industries where you can get in through merit and hard work and talent, because cream always rises. But a lot of it is networking, and it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and that's absolutely fine. And people have this, people poo on that a lot, going, well, that's not right. They've got a job because they're friends with the editor. It's like, yeah, but I know people that have got jobs on construction sites because they're the foreman's their brother-in-law.
Yeah,
there's no different. It's all scale. There was like J.J. Abrams and his son did a Spider-Man comic the other year, and people were throwing their toys out at the pram saying, it's privileged because he's only got the job because his dad's as a director. And I was like, yeah, well, that's not right. I've been working for X News, but when you look at it, it's like, well, JJ's putting his reputation online.
Yeah,
for doing it,
because if something goes wrong, he tanks up.
He takes it like I can't see him putting his son out there and out there for the world to attack if his son wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, well, it's privilege. It's like, yeah, but I don't mean this in a horrible way, but we grew up, like, we live in a world where we've got running water. A lot of people would see that as a privilege. You know, we're fortunate in this country to have the NHS. So, like, I could walk outside now and get hit by a car. I don't have to worry about insurance or how I'm going to pay for those medical bills. So, I think it's all relatives of scale.
Yeah.
And you know, just because someone gets a job because they know someone, unfortunately, it's the hard truth of the world. Not just comics. It's every industry. So that's my opinions on it anyway. And if you disagree with me, you're wrong. I'm kidding. You're allowed your own opinion.
It'd be lovely if the world worked the way perfectly. Like if
world
you're really
isn't
good.
fair.
No, it does. It's not fair. It's never been fair.
No. So I was gonna ask if there was a comic that you could write for either Marvel or DC, building off of someone else's work already. What would you pick?
Again, it's one of the things like when you say to someone like, what's their favorite film? It's the right place, the right time. It's like what mood am I in? If I'm in the mood for something edgy and something like cold, I'd say like Fight Club. If I just want like a summer blockbuster film, I'd say Jaws. Like favorite film wise, comics wise. Well, I always wanted to write a Swamp Thing, so I just wrote a Swamp Thing. Sorry, and then I got my mate Phil, paid my mate Phil to illustrate it. So I've made a Swamp Thing comic. So I just write it. I would actually, do you know what? I've got 2 stories that I would like to write. One of my favorite comics is Mark Millar's and Steve McNiven's Old Man Logan.
Right.
It was one of the books that made me want to write comics. Because I just love the way you could take stuff that you like everyone knows for like 70 odd years and just change it and just tweak it in your own like perverted way. I'd like to do one set in that universe, following on from that, because that story kind of ends of I don't know if you guys have you read it. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't read it. Oh.
But go ahead and spoil
it. Basically, the big bad of the book is the Hulk.
Right.
Hulk, he's you know this from the beginning, and the Hulk runs like the farmland where Logan and his family live, and he basically has been inbreeding with
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk,
Yeah,
his cousin. So like they're like this redneck Hulk family. And that's what I mean. This is what I mean. Like, it's so perverted, but it's somehow that like you should really read it, even if you get it digitally. It's fantastic. And at the end of it, like Wolverine kills him, but he's a pacifist in it. Like, he doesn't pop his claws for the whole story until like right at the end. But then he doesn't, like, the Hulk's got a baby. It's like a little baby Hulk, and then the end of the comic is Wolverine riding off with the baby Hulk. Like, it's just like Lone Wolf and Cub, they're going off into this, this Mad Max style world, of villains, that own America. So I'd like to write one set in that world, but it would be the Punisher.
Right.
So I'd call it Old Man Francis.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be the Punisher, Logan, the baby Hulk, and Daredevil's daughter.
Yeah.
Doing basically just tried to bring get rid of evil in that world. So I've got an idea for that. The other one is I'd really like to write a Mr. Miracle comic for DC. Okay. But it'd be Mr. Miracle and Deadman as a pairing.
Nice combo. Would be
I've got an idea based. I've got an idea. And I've got like what I think is a cool concept and a nice little twist at the end and stuff. So right here, right now, it would be either one of those.
Mm-hmm. Would you ever consider doing a Spider-Man? Because the reason I ask is because on YouTube you mentioned Dan Slott. Yeah. Would that be something you'd want to do as a Peter Parker side, or would you like to do a Miles Morales if you could?
Or make your own?
Yeah.
Do you know what it is? Spider-Man's never been my guy. Miles or Peter. Like, I was always a dead. Like, everyone, when I was growing up, ever read Spider-Man and X-Men, and I was always like Daredevil and Avengers West Coast. Don't want them. They're too trendy. Everyone loves them. They're too big. I'm sure I could write Spider-Man. I'm sure I could have an idea for a Spider-Man story, but I'd probably want to bring loads of people from the Marvel Universe into it. Do you know what I mean? The people that I'd actually really want to write.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is? And Spider-Man and X-Men, Spider-Man fans, they can be a little bit passionate. Is probably the nicest way to put it. Because like Dan Slott, bless him. I don't know Dan. You know, the only Spider-Man work of his I've read, probably the only work of his I've read, was the Superior Spider-Man when he kills Peter and Doc Ock in Spider-Man's body, Peter's body.
Yeah.
And I read that, and I thought that was really good. I like that. So that's the only work of his I've ever read. So, and Spider-Man, I haven't really read a lot of Spider-Man. You know, I was talking about this online with my buddy James from Pipe Dream Comics. He wanted a Spider-Man recommendation for someone that he's trying to get into comics that like Spider-Man, and I suggested Craven's Last Hunt, which was recommended to me, and that's a really good Spider-Man story. But yeah, I'd probably have more fun writing other characters than Spider-Man.
Yeah, I reckon Dan Slott got. So I listened to an interview with him as on a podcast about 3-4 years ago, something like that. I don't know if he got stick because he killed Peter at Christmas, or the fact that he killed Peter. I'm not sure. I mean, he decided to drop it just when you least expected it, especially with the body. Have you read the body switch one then?
Yes, yeah. Superior
yeah.
Spider-Man. Yeah, I've read it. He got dumped on because he killed Spider-Man. And it's the same when they killed Captain America, and it's going to be the same when they killed Doctor Strange in the summer. Like the thing is, these comic characters are coming back. No one stays dead in comics.
Yeah,
apart from Uncle Ben. Uncle
Yeah,
Ben is the only character, the only character that they don't bring back. But the problem is, the fans get so attached to characters, they imply ownership of them because they've been reading them for such a long time. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you kind of need to be a bit more grounded in that you're reading fictional characters. You don't even the people that are writing them. They're not the owners of the characters. Like, they're just custodians. They're there for a time, and there'll be other people after them. There were people there before, and
that's why there's so many different canons.
Yeah, exactly. And the problem with working for Marvel and DC, or what we call intellectual properties, is you're writing characters that are not worth millions. You're writing characters that are worth billions.
Yeah. So
there's certain things you can do and certain things you can't do in comics. So, they're just trying to do their best in the parameters of that bubble that they're allowed to do. I remember hearing a podcast of Kevin Smith, and him and Walt Flanagan did some Batman comics. And I don't think they're ever going to finish their third chapter. And, they had the Joker in the first one, and they wanted to draw the Joker with facial hair, like green, unshaven. And they just said no. Because you got to understand, these kind of things affect share prices, and if DC drops a point, that's millions wiped off the value. There's certain things you can't do. So it's poor Dan. That's why I did that video about Dan Slott, because if you've seen that Disney Plus documentary, it's brilliant. The dude is hamming it up for the camera because he's loving it. He's loving the attention, and he's loving being recorded. But that's he's not writing a script in that. The artist already has the script. It's going back and forth about him being late. It's the artist is already drawing it, the cut and coloring it. It's that's why I break it down. Going, sometimes you shouldn't believe everything you see on TV. It's if you watch the X Factor or whatever, where they try and surprise one of the contestants that they've made it into the show. Why is there a camera already in their house when they knock on the door?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's because they want that over the shoulder thing. They're not gonna record you to say you're not in the show.
Imagine if they did that now. You think you're going to be on the show, they come in, sorry, you're not going to be on it, and they'll walk out.
Yeah, sorry. So it's everything's done for a reason. Do you know what I mean? So it's take it with a pinch of salt. It's fictional characters. If you don't like how someone is writing your characters, and I've not liked how some people have written Daredevil in the past, but you know what? I've still got all the other stuff that I do like, and I know they're not going to be on it forever. And the people that I haven't enjoyed have written a few issues that I have enjoyed. So it's you got to take the rough with the smooth.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I will say that if you do kill off the Ether, I'm not going to be impressed, mate.
Oh no, now he's got to rewrite the next one. Thanks.
I'm not happy.
All right, for you, I won't kill the Ether. Just for you.
First page of the next book. The Ether will die just for you.
Well,
it'll be like Rob's fault.
Well, I'll let you on a secret. The initial idea was, and it's probably not going to happen there because comics take so long to make. The idea was to do the Ether, to do the Devil in Disguise, and to do another superhero comic that I'm doing, and they're all set in London. And if you look in some of the comics, like some of them, there's little teasers of other books in there and stuff like that, little crossovers. So the idea was to do all three of these comics, then do a team book with all three of them.
Nice.
That was the big plan. It's like, but it just comes down to time, and it's like just getting the all three books lined up, and then a fourth book, and it's just it'd just be a hot mess. But that's what I envisioned originally.
Okay, well, I mean, if you ever do it, you know full well that I'm buying it.
Oh, yeah.
Either way, so you got a customer at least.
Buy 5,000 copies.
Yeah,
and it could be done.
Okay, I'll remember that. What you got coming up soon? Then, is there anything in the pipe work that you can speak about?
Yes. Totty and I are putting the finishing touches to Big F Off Worms issue 2. Which we released the first issue digitally, and most of the second issue we've done digitally. We want to do some more with that. We're both really having a lot of fun creating that. This is a fun book to write and draw and work together, because it's just one of them collaborators that it's just a pleasure to deal with. We're also going to be finishing up Pray For Us issues 2 and 3. Also, we are going to do. I've got a super villain comic coming out. I've got it's set in a super villain prison. It's called The Cage, because villains are more fun to write. And this was an idea that I had for a Punisher story that I've just tweaked, and I've just made it into a creator-owned book, because I'm probably never going to get to work for Marvel, and that's fine. So at least I've got this idea that I've tweaked. So I've got that. That's called The Cage. That'll be done very, very soon. I've got a horror western coming out later towards the end of the year called Voodoo Cowboy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Which I wrote for a bet.
Yeah.
It was more of a dare. Like my friend James mocked me, saying like you've got every comic under the sun. You've got superheroes, you've got crime noir, you've got sci-fi. It's like, what haven't you written? I went, no. He goes, I dare you to write a western. So I sat on the idea for like 3 months, and then I was in the shower and I thought, Voodoo Cowboy. Oh, there we go. I've got an idea for a western. So that's his. Yeah, but that's the weird thing. Like all my ideas I get in the shower. It's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. Like I love my bathroom. If I ever become a billionaire, I'm keeping his house just so I can keep that bathroom. Because I'm quite lucky. I've never had writer's block, but if I go in that bathroom, have a shower, I come out with like 5 ideas. But yeah, so Voodoo Cowboy is interesting. I like that. It's obviously I'm not comparing myself to John Carpenter at all, but the way I kind of write it in my head is, if John Carpenter was to ever make a western, it would be Voodoo Cowboy. That's how I envisioned it. So that's good. And I've got Mark Texeira, who did Black Panther and stuff, doing the cover, which is really awesome. It's beautiful, and Arunya, who's doing the art, he's bang on, and D, who's doing the colours. It's a really good team. I'm really fortunate to have such amazing collaborators working on that book. So those books are definite.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got other stuff that I'm working on that I don't really want to spoil, because I have a tendency to go, yeah, I'm doing this, and then 2 years later people go, what are you doing that? It's like, oh yeah, I'm still doing it, still doing it. Still doing it. It's like, do you know what it is? It's like I've written. I wrote the first issue. I was watching Flash Gordon about 6 months ago, and I had an idea for like a Flash Gordon Fantastic Four kind of story, and I wrote it, and just sit on the script still.
Yeah,
because I want to rewrite it. I had an artist, he dropped out unfortunately, and it's a lot of the time it's trying to find the right artist for the book, because it's for me it's not about I need to show off my writing or I've got a great artist. It's finding that right pairing of art and story to make the book. That's the
you said before, haven't you, that a lot of the artists have different styles. You've got to find the right style for the right style of the writing. They've got to match up.
I mean, it's like Pray For Us, for example. Like I'm working with Totty on that. He originally tried out. He wanted to try it for Red Rocket, and I just said no. And I love his art. It just isn't right for the book. And you say it to some artists, and like, what do you mean it's not right? I can adapt my style. It's like, that's not what it's like. You're good at drawing monsters. Like I know what artists are, like certain artists are good at, and I know, and I like when you get to work with certain artists and you work with them more than once. You write stuff that you know is in their wheelhouse. And I'm not saying that he couldn't draw Red Rocket and absolutely smash it, but it wasn't the look that I was going for, and I ended up working with Graham on that, because I wanted more of like a sketchy Brian Bolland kind of realistic look for that section of the book. And it just, it just wasn't. Totty's just wasn't there. So, but when I started to write "Pray for Us," I knew Totty was the man. And the same with the cage that I'm working with Dean Cotts on. He did a test page for Red Rocket, and it was absolutely beautiful. It was so detailed. It was like, oh, this guy's talented. But then just wasn't right. But then when I was writing the cage, I knew he was my guy. So I didn't even like put a tweet again. I'm looking for artists. I was like, Dean, I wrote this with you in mind. Do you want to check it out? And he was like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So we agreed, and he's finished it. So.
Cool. So the YouTube channel, as you've kind of referenced throughout the episode, you started it during lockdown.
Yes.
You're just over 800 now. Is that right? 800 subscribers.
We've had a bit of an influx in the last couple of days, so we are now on. As he refreshes, we're on 821 subscribers now.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
That's
I'm
brilliant.
absolutely blown away by the the support, and that's that's gone up by 116 in the last 28 days.
Yeah,
so I'm so that's amazing. So if you do watch the channel and you're listening, thank you.
Yeah, and if you don't, then Matt's channel links will all be in the description.
And subscribe.
Yeah,
and subscribe, you shits. It's like 60% of the people that watch the channel are not subscribed. It's like you're returning viewers. Just hit the button. And do you know what? All joking aside, it's mainly because a lot of people will watch it on their phone and stuff like that. They're just not logged into into YouTube. So like they'll see the tweet come up and they'll just click the link and it just takes them to. They're not logged in, because I had one guy which is like, I have been watching it. I didn't realize I wasn't subscribed because I was watching it on my phone. He's like, that's fine. But if you are logged in, subscribe. Helps the channel.
It does.
Helps me.
Hit that notification bell.
Yep.
And then notification bell, and watch it as soon as you can. Give us a thumbs up. Leave a nice comment, and pay me to do it. No, I'm joking.
But yeah, definitely. Go over to Matt's channel. If you haven't already, going through, the good thing is as well, the way you've done the videos, you can't just have to watch one and then go all the way through to, you can kind of just pick and jump out. Obviously, you tell a story of how you had to do the comic week, bit by episode, but you can kind of jump in from wherever and still know what's going on.
Well, that's the idea, is because people, and this is the thing, because the thing about algorithms and stuff like that, and knowing what videos are going to be bigger than others, I get that now, because what it is how you need to build your channel is I this channel is for me 10 years ago, learning the craft, and I know how to do certain things, but I didn't know how to do other things. So the channel is, you can pick and choose the things that you need to know about, and there's other stuff there, but there's questions that you'll get, and everyone has when they first started making comics, like artist page rates. And I know that video, it's been out for a couple of weeks. It's got 400 views, just under 400 views now. And I know that will be a big video over time, because it's one of the questions that I get a lot. So it's a question that people are asking me, and it means not just the people are asking me are asking it, everyone over the world is asking. Do you know what I mean? And then there's the biggest one is, new comic writers don't do this, and it's about mistakes. So, that's got 800 views in the last month, and that's been up 8-9 months now. And it literally, it was chugging along, and now it's skyrocketing. It gets 40, 50 views a day, because everyone's a new comic writer and they want to know how to write comics, but they don't want to make mistakes, so they watch it.
Yeah,
and it's got information that people are good at, people need to know. So that's what it is. But then there's other videos on there that have barely broken 100, because I know not everyone wants to know that or needs to know that. So it's,
they can pick and choose what they need.
YouTube. Exactly. It's a small smorgasbord of information. So,
have you had a favorite video that you've done at all?
I hate them all. I hate them all. Do you know what? It's so hard to do. It's I like doing the masterclass interviews where I get people on and I get to have a chat with people like Tom Muller and PJ Holden and stuff like that. They're always fun. Stuff like this, it's so interesting. But they take forever to record, because I keep fluffing up. I used to write a full script and read it, and they were a bit stiff. If you watch some of the early ones, that's me just reading off. I'll have, my camera's there, but obviously imagine my camera is there where this camera is. I'd have Word open there, and I'd be reading it, and it just sounds so wooden because I kept fluffing it, and I'd still fluff it up reading it.
Yeah.
That's the annoying thing. So now what I do is I just bullet point what I want to say, and then I'll cut in between the bullet points and make it a bit more fluid. I hate doing it though. I love doing it because it's helping, but I don't like talking to the camera.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's weird. It's weird doing it. I'll do it. I'll keep doing it. If people keep watching the channel, I'll keep doing it because I really want to help people. But yeah, no, it's
Yeah, I tried to Twitch stream for a while, and it's the whole trying to talk to people that aren't there. You're trying to engage with someone who doesn't exist, and it's really difficult for me.
Yeah, I'm getting better. I'm like 11 months in. I'm getting a lot better at it. And like the energy levels there. But I do have a tendency, like you found out when we tried to record this last time, I do talk very, very fast, especially when I'm excited, especially when I've had caffeine. So it kind of gets in the way of what I'm trying to achieve, and you just like watching it back, going, oh, what am I doing? But yeah, no, so there isn't just one video. Like they're all a pain in the ass.
I say when we first started recording the podcast, this was way back 3 years ago, something like that. If you haven't, not you, Matt, but I mean you can. If you haven't heard them, they'll be linked in the description. So go and have a listen. No,
I refuse to.
Yeah, I don't blame you. We try to. I mean, I have to listen to them to edit them, but
I can't listen to them because my voice is terrible when it's been recorded. I listen and think, shut up. Just let Rob talk and just shut up.
But I'm the same. I asked to re-record it because I knew I kind of going off on weird tangents and like dragging it. But even this one, no offense, guys, I won't listen to it. I hate listening to myself on it. I watch my videos because I have to edit them, but I hate. Do you know what it is? It's like if you know me on Twitter, I love being the center of attention and like I'm a big look at me, I'm a big cheerleader. But I'm actually really, really shy in real life. And I know that's hard, but like you get me in a pub, a few beers with me, and I'm not. But sober, I'm quite a shy fella.
Yeah.
Like with photos for like with me and my wife have been in London, like, and there's comic shops that I've got my books, and she'll go, "Could we go in? Can I want to get a picture of your books?" And the shelf, I'm like, "No." Like, what do you mean? Like, no. Like, no, because I'm embarrassed. I get embarrassed very, very easily. So yeah, so don't take it personally if I don't listen to this.
No, that's fine. But I was basically just going to say, you were talking about the bullet points and stuff. When we first
very
started,
wooden.
we wrote. It wasn't a script, but we wrote notes. But we just read the notes as notes. We didn't really talk.
This happened at this point. Then they did this. Then they did this, and it's
And I just said I can't listen back because I'm boring myself. So now we kind of watch the film,
make a couple of notes.
Well, we'll try.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we just watch the film and go, oh, this happened. Can you remember what happened? No, just get the synopsis up and then we'll kind of babble through it for an hour.
If we're not watching it together, we don't do any notes. But if we watch it separately, Rob makes a paragraph of notes. And at one point, I did 3 pages back and side, both sides of notes. I used like 2 notes out of the entire lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was the same, like writing the scripts, write them when the baby was asleep on my lap. I'd get my phone out and I'd be typing them on like Word or Notes, where it is on my phone. And it would be, I would type it as I would say it. So I would write it in my dialogue, how I'm speaking now. It's like, that's how I'm going to write it. And then you try and read that back and you're like, oh God, it's horrible. So I feel your pain, boys, but bullet points is good. The only problem is I may miss something that I want to say, and I'm like, shit. But then if the video does well, I can do another video about it and mention it. So it's no big deal. I'd rather it be not more honest, but I'd rather give people, more true reflection of who I am on the channel and how I speak and stuff like that. Try and put the energy across and, not sound like a robot talking. And, if you want to make a comic, this is what you like.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing with like podcasts and YouTube is like, people are watching it for the information as much as you as well. They want to support you and they want to support your channel. So, so you need to be kind of honest. And I used to like fluff up so much. And now if I fluff up and it's not that bad, I just leave it in. If I pronounce a word wrong, it's like this one, I did it a couple of weeks ago. I kept saying something like in the weirdest way. I'm like, why am I saying that? And I even put it up on the screen, like, why can't I pronounce this word? It's like I did a video went up yesterday, and I did like an indie critique of a chap's book called. His name's what's his name? His name was Brandon. I kept calling him Brendan. But it's not because
Yeah.
it's not because I was trying to say Brendan. It's because it was the way I was saying Brandon. It was like but because it sounded like an E. I'm like, so I'm blending it back going, but I'm not saying Brendan. I'm saying Brandon.
Yeah.
But it's sounding wrong.
Yeah.
So like my wife will kick my ass because like I can't say the superhero 4 and the number 4. So when I say it, I have to say Thor and 4 and the number 3 and getting something for free. To me, they
sound the same. Yeah.
So I think that's coming from like East London, Essex, where like our pronunciation is just like out the window. Like so, it's like, so if I pronounce stuff wrong, I just leave it in there and I'll make a joke. I don't mind poking fun at myself. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, the reason I find that very hilarious is have you seen Christmas with the Cranks at all?
No, is that the one with Ben Affleck?
Allen.
No, it's Tim Allen.
Tim Allen, sorry, Tim Allen. I was getting that one confused.
Yeah, Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
And there's a character's name called Luther, right?
Right.
But you also use a loofah, right?
His name is Luther.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you're
yeah.
saying Luther.
No,
Right.
no one since the 70s has actually used a loofah. Like, it's a back scrubber, not a loofah.
Yeah, but I kept saying loofah, and apparently it's wrong.
We had a big thing about this. Me going, no, it's Luther. You got Luther and Luther. And he goes,
That's the same.
thing.
It sounds the same, doesn't it?
But is it Lex Luthor or Lex Luthor?
It's just Lex Luthor.
No, but it's actually if you bless him, rest in peace, Richard Donner. If you're watching this, if you're obviously passed away last week. I don't know why Richard be watching this. He's passed away. But there's the character Otis, and he calls Mr. Luthor.
Yeah.
So it's actually because it's Luthor. It's not Luther, but we say Luther,
Yeah.
like a Luther.
Yeah.
And like
Luthor,
the Idris Elba character, Luther. It's very confusing. Very confusing.
How we brought that back to this was a massive discussion on our Christmas pod for about 10 minutes. I had to cut, but I mean, at least it's not just me. I'm so glad that it's not just me.
You're trying to make me out to be like some grammar Nazi. Please stop doing that. I prefer to pronounce things correctly.
If the Hugo Boss suit fits.
So we spoke about last time. You went for a more child-friendly approach to one of your comics.
Yes.
Yeah. How fun was it writing that?
Do you know, it was really nice actually, because as I said before, when you're at a Comic-Con, you get a lot of parents and you get a lot of kids, and the parents buy the comics and the kids are there just because they want to dress up. They're under 5, under 10. They don't know comics. So, they can't read a lot of the independent stuff that's there because a lot of it's adult orientated, a lot of bad words, that kind of thing. So I wanted to create a comic just for kids. And, if I'm going to write a comic for kids, I want to write a horror comic for kids, because it's not always, because it's like, like none of my comics are what they are. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's always going to be a twist on it. But yeah, no, I just wanted to write like a Scooby-Doo-ish kind of. It's got monsters in it, but it's not scary. And at least I can say like, oh, they can look at this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And a lot of the parents will like be buying my comics, and then they'll turn to the little one and go, "Do you want that?" And they'll go, "Yeah," because no kid has ever said no. Actually, no, one kid did say no, and I just looked at him like, your dad's like, you're getting offered a free comic here, kid. Just say yes. Like, I'm trying to earn a living here.
Just say to the dad, buy it for him anyway. We can read it later.
Yeah. But it's nice to have a book that's on it. And yeah, it was a lot of fun to write, because I had the idea. I mean, me and Rosie, we want to do another one, but not a horror this time. I think we're going to do something a little bit different. There's a little follow up, but it's just finding the time, and I've got an idea. I just need to develop it a little more. But yeah. The thing is, all comics are fun to write, whether it's comic for kids or it's an action comic or it's a horror comic. I just enjoy writing, regardless. I write so many different types of comics. I'm never one of them writers go, well, I'm not in the mood, because I'm always in the mood to write something.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's because, as I said last time, my son absolutely loved that comic. We've read. I think honestly, I think we've read it so much that like he knows, when someone reads something and they know what's happening next, and you only do, it's 24 pages, isn't it?
Yeah. All my comics tend to be 24 pages, apart from Red Rocket and Glasshood, which are 44 and 48. So yeah.
Yeah. So and he knows inside out what's happening, who's what and who's where. And as you said last time, it's like a Scooby Doo basically in a comic form.
Yeah, it's just. But I've tried to put enough in for the adults to go. Oh, I know that monster. I know that monster.
Yeah.
But then it's enough like to not scare the kids, and it's quite slapsticky to get a silly chuckle. So that's very sweet of you to say thank you very much to you both.
Are you going to be doing? So you said about another. Is it going to be like another Camp Blur, or is it?
Yeah. I'd like to do another one with the same characters.
Mm-hmm.
We'll come back the next year to the same camp.
Yeah, but I'd like to not do a horror one this time, like more fantasy, more like, Lord of the Rings type kind of, something a little bit different. Because that's, do you know what it is? It's like we were saying before, I'm writing a love story at the moment because it's not expected of me. So it's like, it's like, oh, you like that? I've got this one. It's different, and it's trying to broaden people's horizons with regards to what they read because, some comic shops, don't stock independent comics. There's some comic shops. I mean, because I literally ring every comic shop when I've got a new book out, and some of them, bless them, they're like, my customers just unless it's Marvel and DC, and maybe the occasional Image book if it's written by a Marvel or DC writer, they won't touch it. So it's trying to get people to try something new, and independent comics is a great way to do it. So, and you could do a lot more with your own creations. Do you know what I mean? It's just more fun. There's no restrictions like we were saying about like Marvel and DC. There's certain things you can't do. Like you can kill Spider-Man, but you have to bring him back.
Yeah.
Like with I can kill the Ether. I'm gonna kill the Ether because I hate you.
The killer's name's Rob.
And she'll stay and she'll stay dead.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I don't need to bring him back because it's just, it's in its own little universe. There's not 80 years of history and fandom that's gonna throw their toys out the pram. Just you. Yeah. Just you. Yeah, so.
All right. I mean, have you ever get an idea of sending Camp Blur to the moon?
There's an idea.
Was you going through the other
Yeah, I was just seeing which ones I was going to get. That's all I was doing
okay.
on it. I've been flicking on your store on my phone. I've been looking through the bits and pieces I like looking
Oh, bless you.
Speaking
I've got the Devil in Disguise Volume 1. That's the collection, isn't it? It's all the comics in one volume.
Do you know what? The Devil in Disguise, the complete set is on Comixology for 79p at the moment. All 4 issues, 79p. And it's probably better to read it on the Comixology app because it does that bit where it goes from panel to panel, panel to panel, panel. Does that little move thing. So, but yeah, either or.
Because with me, I don't mind the online comics; they're great, but I prefer to hold a comic if I'm reading it.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think I someone may have misquoted him, but I heard a story about someone asked the question to Stan Lee once. Do you prefer digital comics or paper comics? I don't know if this is true, but it made me laugh. And apparently, he said, "Like boobs on a screen are great." But and I'd like to think that he did say that, but if he didn't, I apologise to the Lee estate for repeating it. But I think that's. But you know what? I love real boobs. I love digital boobs. No, we spoke about this last time. Like I've got a lot of floppy comics. Like a lot of long boxes. Like, but I've got a lot of digital books as well. So it's and a lot of them like are the same books because. Especially when you've got kids, it's easier to have a digital version of it. But again, I'll always support the floppy side of the comic industry. The only thing I'm buying less now is graphic novels because they take up a lot more space.
Yeah.
Unless it's a graphic novel or an absolute edition of something that I really, really want, then
I don't buy graphic novels as often as I used to. But there's one I bought recently, Strange Academy.
Okay, I know the Umbrella Academy, not the Strange Academy. The Marvel one.
Yeah,
Strange Academy.
It's basically like the X-Men school, but for magical kids. So I've been reading that a lot. I've got that indoors.
Any good?
I'm enjoying it. I really want the second one to come out because they've just killed one of the characters. And I want to see if that character. Well, it's Marvel, so the likelihood it's going to come back. But I want to see if they actually bring him back.
Okay, yeah, I've seen. I'll have to keep that an eye on a Comixology. And I think, do you know what it is? I love a Comixology sale. Like I very rarely buy Like I'll buy the floppies, like they'll get delivered to me from the comic shop and stuff like that every month or so, because I'll buy them ahead of time. But then I don't read them for like 6 months, 7 months, because I don't have time. They'll stay in a pile, and that's why I bag and board. But then when there's a sale on Comixology, I'll buy them digitally and end up reading them digitally. And if you like the Strange Academy, have a look, because on Comixology, it's buy one get one free on Marvel at the moment.
Are they all digital ones, or are they just the?
They're just digital ones. So if you want it now, like right now, so I bought some of the latest Chip Zdarsky Daredevil comics that I've got hard copies of, but I wanted to have them digital so I could read them, and I bought some Venom ones and stuff like that. So it's just easier. But yeah,
Okay.
but I'm both. I'm like, yeah. There's got to be room for both in this modern world.
Yeah.
If it gets people reading comics, I don't care what they read.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah,
Exactly that. So your website, you over lockdown, you was it rebranded? It was revamped, wasn't it?
It was a big revamp to coincide with the channel and stuff. I've still got the other address, but it's just for more of an international audience. I've dropped the .co.uk,
Yep.
and now it's just garveycomics.com.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bit easier, a bit rolls off the tongue. The good thing about, if you've got comics to sell, and I will be doing a video about it, it's like you can set up a big cartel shop.
Yeah.
It's really easy to do. It's free if you've got 5 items or less.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got a lot more, so I wanted to have a bit more of a glossy store. And the good thing about that is that the way I've set it up and the apps that I've got built into the store is like, if you was to buy, like Chris bought Big F off Worms, didn't you?
Yeah.
I have nothing to do with that. Like you send the order, I mean, it was free anyway, you cheap bastard. But you buy that.
Well, I'm
but you
deleting
buy
my
that.
request then. If you go.
Sorry, but you buy that comic, and because I've saved them all in the shop's cloud, they get emailed to you straight away. So I don't even get involved. And that's the same with like the apparel. So if someone buys a T-shirt or like a laptop case or a mug, something like that, I don't even have to get involved. It gets processed, ordered, and I collect. That's it. So
Yeah.
it just looks a bit nicer than a big cartel shop, personally. And nothing wrong with big cartel when you're starting out making comics, or if you've got like a podcast or a small channel, 5 items, absolutely fine. I think mine, I think I've leveled it up. I pay for it now, but I think it's worth it. I think it just represents the brand. We're going to be technical a bit better.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you have an idea going in then when it comes to rebranding the website? Because I see the original, and then you released the updated one. So was that because of the YouTube channel, or because you just wanted to revamp it? Because now you had a lot more time.
Yeah, no, it was all down to the channel, because I wanted to tie it in with that, with like merchandise for that. Again, I don't sell loads of merchandise. I sell the odd T-shirt, the odd mug, that kind of thing. But it's nice if people want to support the channel. They can. It's like I've over the last couple of weeks, I've had a couple of people, bless them, that have like sent me a tip through, is it Ko-Fi or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
Which I set up. Which, I mean, like, if you've watched the channel, I don't shield my own stuff on there. My wife tells me I should do more. It's like, oh, mention the channel, mention the comments. Like, but I don't want that to be what the channel is about. Do you know what I mean? The channel is there to help people, to encourage people. Like, don't get me wrong, I will mention it from time to time, every now and then. But we've all seen people that, especially in the comics industry, they'll start their own channel. They'll want to do like reviews and stuff, and like and then the next video is all about their book, all that kind of thing. And I just think I don't want to be known for that. I want to keep the content as pure as I can.
Yeah.
And the shop and everything's linked in the description. So if someone likes the channel enough that they're looking in the description, that they'll find it. So, but yeah.
There you go. So if you are watching Matt's videos, and you should be, especially, I mean, for entertainment purposes, either way, that or learning, whatever you prefer.
Well, do you know what? Don't send me a tip. Buy a comic. Like buy a digital comic. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can send me like a couple of quid for a coffee. That's lovely. But buy like, my comics are on there like a pound. Do you know what I mean? The digital version. It's like, get something for it. I don't want people to give me money for nothing. Do you know what I mean? I know like they're paying because they like the channel and they want like paying for the content, to say thank you for it. It's like, but still get something in return. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what I want. Unless your name's Chris and you're a tight side. Look at his face, look. Oh. Oh, I'm teasing.
I know.
How dare you? How dare you?
So, all right. So as we start to wind down,
What?
Oh,
We're
you
just
want to
getting
carry on?
started. We're just getting started. What that does? Come on.
So I've got a couple more questions. Comic recommendations. How many have you got?
As many as you need. You give me something and I'll recommend it. Who are you? What do you like? What do you want? And I'll recommend something.
All right, give us your top 3 favourites.
Ooh, again, yeah, it's always like time and place, like what you're in the mood for, what you're in the mood for. Right, if you're gonna read an independent comic, something like that's not Marvel and DC, Cowboy Ninja Viking, or every time, love that book, absolutely fantastic. Riley Rossmo's working on, I think, Harley Quinn at the moment. His art, you could see the evolution of his art, and even back then, he was kicking ass. So I'd recommend that. If you want something a bit more comedic, I'd say I Hate Fairyland, always a good one. Scotty Young, it's like a fairy tale. There's 2 versions of it if you can get it. One's got swearing in it and one hasn't. One's called F Fairyland and the other's I Hate Fairyland. And if you can get the one without the swearing, it's quite funny because they substitute all the bad words for like fluff and stuff like that. That's quite good. So you might even be able to read that. How old's your little one?
He's 6.
Yeah. You like have a read of a couple, just see what you think, like the non-swearing ones, because it's just an effed up fairy tale about a little girl that gets trapped in in Oz kind of thing, and she's trying to get home, and she's there for like 30 years, but she's still a little girl, so she kind of goes a little bit loopy. It's hilarious.
I think anyone stuck in Oz for 30 years has got completely loopy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been locked down for 14 months and I've lost it completely. If you're gonna go DC, if you want to go Batman, I'd say Black Mirror, Scott Snyder, Jock, Francesco Francovelli, I can't even pronounce his name. That's good because it's the Grace and Batman era, so you don't need to know 70 years of Batman. And it's more of an examination of Jim Gordon's son than anything else. That's really good. Favorite Batman story. Marvel. I would say a Daredevil one, but I'm not going to because that's cliched. I mentioned it before, but Old Man Logan, fantastic. It's you don't need to know the entire Marvel history, but there's enough in there to satisfy you if you know a lot about Marvel. And it's a good comic. It's fast paced. It's a good book, and it's just I don't want to spoil it, but basically Wolverine hasn't popped his claws in like 30 years because he did something. And he lives a simple life on a farm, and he gets got no money. The farm's owned by Banner, the Hulk, that are going to make him homeless and kill his family if he doesn't pay the rent. So he takes a job escorting a blind Hawkeye to the state capital, where Hawkeye's carrying a new version of the super soldier serum that created Captain America. So it's like a road trip. So it's a road trip across America, and America's been split up and is now run by different villains. Right. So that's all the stuff that and it's done with fantastic. So that's Marvel, that's DC, that's Image. That's what I'd recommend to people.
Okay. Also, I want to talk about quickly. So not the Ether, but are you gonna do any other variant comic covers? Because you've done one for the Ether. You're gonna do any others?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a very cool variant for the Cage. I just think I like a variant cover. I just like doing it. It's fun, and I know comic collectors collect. So if they like a book, they'll buy both. And it's not because I'm trying to get more money, but sometimes getting a guest artist to do a cover, it's just fun because I get to work with other people as well. So, and it's always nice to see their interpretation of the characters, like Rob Gilroy that did Untitled Generic Space Comedy. I'm a big Chew fan. I love Chew. It's a great book. That's another independent one I'd recommend. To see him, his interpretation of the characters that John and I and Alison created was just mind blowing. So, if I can afford it, yes. Because obviously I always pay artists to work with me. So yeah, as long as there's money in the bank, and I know enough cool artists to bring cool covers to life.
Okay. As you know, we do a podcast. We have.
Really?
Yeah, we do.
I thought this was just a general chat.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. So we would like you to recommend a film for us to pod on in a later. But there's some rules. If it's a part of a series of films, trilogy or whatever, that's not a problem. However, we'll do that when we do the series. So if it's a standalone film or has a sequel, then just a sequel, then that's not a problem. We can do both.
Okay.
So the floor is yours.
Okay. So when you do your film reviews, what kind of films do you guys tend to lean towards? Is there a genre you lean towards
Anything.
more than others?
There's no specific genre.
What genre of films don't you tend to like?
I think we've kind of covered everything. A majority. We haven't done westerns.
I think it's the only one we haven't
Yeah,
done.
we've done musicals. We've done 2 musicals. Cartoons,
We've done horrors.
anime, horror.
Terrible horrors.
Yeah.
Z-list horrors.
Okay, I'll give you a western. Give you a
Alright.
western. If you have not done a western yet, Quick and the Dead. If you haven't seen it,
Okay.
have you seen it?
No.
No.
Sam Raimi did the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films and Evil Dead. This is him doing a western. It's on Netflix now, actually. So if you've got Netflix, go watch it. Great cast: Gene Hackman, Leonardo DiCaprio, Sharon Stone, Russell Crowe, Lance Henriksen. You know the cast is expansive. There's some amazing talent in there, and it's literally, not to spoil it, there's a gunfight. You know, it's a competition. You know, the quickest draw kind of thing.
Yeah.
And hey, do you know what? It's just a fun film. You know, and it's Sam Raimi.
Mm-hmm.
So, here you go, Quick and the Dead.
There we go. So
Okay,
we'll
like
add
that, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be that'll probably be within like the next 3 or 4 episodes.
Go for it.
Anything else that you want to talk about comic book wise before we almost sign off?
Oh, comic book wise. Talk about comic book wise. No, I just hate you both.
No, thanks.
Well, the feeling's mutual, mate.
No, no. Unless you guys have got any other questions, I'm done with you.
Yeah. Have you got any questions?
No, I'm sick of talking to him.
Yeah. Okay. Other than hiding in the corner, interwebs. Where can we find you?
GarveyComics.com, at MattGarvey1981, YouTube, Brighton Comics with Matt Garvey. There you go.
Lovely. Anything extra you want to add?
Delightful.
Come on, that was comedy
That was
timing.
great.
No, anything I'd like to add? No, just thank you, guys. It's always a pleasure. It's lovely. We will have to meet up for a beer
Definitely.
once the lockdown's finished, especially because I found out you guys live so bloody close.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not
Like
that
you're
far.
down the road. I'm in the next town.
Yeah.
Who are you looking at? Who's that?
Boiler checks.
Boiler checks.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Always get your boiler checked once a year from a gas safe registered, engineer.
There you go.
There you go.
Is that your
Wisdom from Matt Garvey.
Yeah, yeah. Wisdom from Matt Garvey.
you
That's
go.
another segment we can add.
Exactly. But no, guys, thank you so much for this. We will meet a bit. We will meet and have a beer once all this COVID nonsense is knocked out and stuff like that.
Definitely. And after that, we'll see you at Comic Con.
Damn flipping right.
Lovely.
Can't
All right,
wait.
mate.
I'm
We'll see you
excited.
soon.
Brilliant. All right. Love to you both.